Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company who is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we welcome back Rob Riopel for a second episode. You know, Marty, being in Rob's presence, it's just upbeat. You just feel good being around people like Rob who have a demeanor that every day is a good day. It's my choice whether it is or not. When he's happy, we're all happy. I'm not Pollyannic to say that, everything's going to turn out to be this way. But quite honestly, let's just try to learn to be happy with each other. And he's got a very positive demeanor about him. But he talks about how we can adapt to and learn of other people's perspective. There's so much that we can learn from this. But Marty, what are some other takeaways our listeners can gain from this?
Ron, you're right. Rob is a very upbeat person and a joy to be with. There were three things Rob mentioned that he made statements on that I took notes and I would like to share with our listeners. The first statement, we are all on our own journey. You were talking about a journey. The fact that people want to make something of themselves, but it's a journey. The second one, where he states we are where we are meant to be at this time in your life. And the third one was our greatest lessons are what didn't work. But we have to move on and not let that get us down and not try it.
I'll acknowledge some of us are slow learners. Be patient. Let's listen and learn together. Rob, thanks for joining us again for the second episode. For our listeners who may be listening to Rob Riopel for the first episode, we had a great opportunity to talk about finances and just a mindset toward financial principles and so forth. We left off that podcast with Rob talking about his listening to F.W. de Klerk, who responded to a statement that, some people today don't seem to have the right work ethic they're not listening to and the right mindset and so forth. And his response to that was, be patient. And I'm going to speak for myself, some of us take longer to process information. Some of us are just not ready right now. Some of us are just not of the right mindset. I've got to process, and whatever the reason is. But Rob, let's talk about be patient, folks. I think the message is as well, but I'm very interested in your perspective. Be consistent with the message, and if right now is not the right time, maybe sometime later will be. I'll just work with you, stand beside you, and be ready when the timing is right. Rob, welcome back. Good to have you back with us.
So happy to be here with both you and Marty because, as you are aware, I do not like to have fun whatsoever. I want to be boring. I want to just be mundane. And it's so much fun being with the two of you. So I appreciate you having been back on this. And, I'm going to kind of go back to something. It was in 2009 that I happened to be hosting that event with F.W. de Klerk. And what was interesting before that is, even though I'd been training for a number of years prior to that, I had really not traveled a ton outside of North America. It wasn't until 2007 that I did my first trip out of North America. Now, unless, of course, you consider going on a Caribbean cruise, traveling outside of North America, extensively. And also I went to Asia for the first time. And I did a few trips between Singapore and Malaysia in 2007, beginning 2008. But then I ended up taking my break, a hiatus that was 3.5 years long. And so I hadn't traveled a lot. And then all of a sudden in 2009, I get asked to host this event with people like the Dalai Lama, F.W. de Klerk, Richard Branson, stuff like that. And when F.W. de Klerk made that statement, it really got me introspecting. And also when I came out of retirement, I started extensively traveling around the world. Probably one of the greatest things that statement helped me learn was tolerance. Because all of a sudden I'm now engaged in all these different cultures and people that have different upbringings than me, different beliefs than me, and different ways of doing things. And the old style of me, I would have been like, oh, they're wrong. This is not how you do it. Why are they doing it that way? And my mind would have made me want to make them wrong. But then I realized from his statement, we're all on our own journey. That doesn't make it one better than the other. Doesn't make one right, one wrong, one good, one bad. We're all on our own journeys, and we're all going to come into our own power when that time is due. You know, it's even as powerful as something that was on the news yesterday. You know, with technology the way it is, a woman who's been wanting to have a child for all her life and hasn't been able to, at the age of 70, she just gave birth to a child. And it's like, that's her journey. You talk about a late bloomer right there. and it was, you know, and so that's, and I just thought of that as a kind of a good example of it. Some people at a young age, they seem to know what they want. They're in it. They're going. They're driven. But other people, maybe their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, that's when they finally truly find their passion. So which one's better than the other? And to me, none are. We're all on our individual journey. And so we're meant to be exactly where we are. Because even the two of you, what you've gone through in your lives have made you who you are today. And there's a reason why you're able to impact others that listen to your podcast. Not because of everything you've done right, but probably some of the greatest lessons come from what did not work in your lives. Or as we were talking about before the recording started, you know, when Marty becomes a translator of what Ron really means. You know, he said this, let me translate what that actually meant. Because you two wouldn't have come together had you not had your own journeys, if that makes sense.
It does, Rob, and some very profound truths you have just spoken. There are different ways to express that. One way is, I'm not now what I used to be, but I'm not yet what I will be. And so, in spite of some of the stuff, some of the stupid decisions I've made, in spite of some of the mistakes I've made, to a degree, I wouldn't want to change anything because I wouldn't be the person I am today had I not experienced and grown from and advanced through the mistakes I made. And so with that in mind, I'm interested, Rob, in your perspective. I think it is adapting to. It is a matter of adjusting to another person's perspective. Everyone has a different life, a different culture, and so forth. And as we adjust to that, if we choose to adapt to another person, their perspective, and learn from those kind of things, hopefully we will want to adjust to them. But you're right, and I have gone through the same type thing, meaning, well, gosh, you don't think the way I do, and I'm right, you're wrong. That can make an interesting conversation that is probably going to go off into the bushes real soon. So it is a matter, I think, of adapting and adjusting. And Rob, my sense is you have learned to do that through life experience.
Oh, and then that's it. Yeah, and think of the pressure that gets put on individuals or that we put on ourselves, thinking we have to be perfect, thinking well, I learned this, I better be great at it now. And one of the favorite quotes from one of my mentors is, every master was once a disaster. And most people aren't willing to go through the disaster state. But think about this. You know, again, to become a master at anything, it takes 10,000 times of doing it, 10,000 hours of doing it. So how are you going to expect? But the pressure we put on ourselves is, well, hey, I just learned accounting, so I better know everything about accounting there is to know because I just learned it. And we put this unrealistic pressure on ourselves. Or I'm only going to speak for myself. I can't speak for anybody else. But I have, you know, kind of from traveling around the world, I see this kind of common theme going on for a lot of people, is that pressure we put on ourselves because of, say, our families or whatever it is. And so this is where it's so critical to take that deep breath in and give yourself permission to make mistakes. One of my mantras is, because there's no failure, it's only feedback. If I fail at something, I used to beat the crap out of myself up over it. I would beat myself up over it relentlessly. But now I look back and go, okay, what was my lessons from it? And so now my whole mantra is, I want to fail 3 times faster than I did before, because the greatest lessons come from what did not work. So instead of beating myself up over it, I'll sit there and say, okay, didn't work. What are our lessons? And if I can take a lesson from it and do something a little different and then go again, I'm now a happy person. And the weight that's lifted off my shoulders has been amazing.
No, that's very well said. I'll give you and our listeners, just a little bit of, being a master of disaster. How many mistakes have I made? How about those times when I'm working with Marty, my life's best partner, as of this recording, 54 years. I've known her for 56 years. How many times have I been told, do not try to fix me, do not try to provide a solution. I have no interest in your analytical mind, and just listen. And I have to be told numerous times I'm not fixable, or at least I'm not in the mood for your proposed solution. So just go. I call it in aeronautical terms, go receive only.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things I might suggest for you, Ron, on that, because I just learned this recently, and Marty, listen to my words on this, because this is going to help with that. How to, it's like that. How many times do I have to kick you with a frozen muckluck before you get it? A great friend of mine, what he said this. He says, like, especially say in a relationship, ask, are you looking for a solution, or do you want me to? Because as men, we want to fix everything. That just tends to be our way of being. We want to fix it. But if we realize that that's not always what the other person in our relationship wants. So if we ask that simple question, are you looking for a solution, or would you like me to listen? At least now, because ladies, hear this, us men can be thicker than stone. So yes, it takes a few times to tell us before we get it. So having that clear direction helps us so much. But Ron, you remembering to ask, would you like me a solution, or would you like me to listen? And then she says, hey, if I just want you to listen, then guess what? www.zipit.com and listen.
That's right on. And I'll continue to learn this lesson as I go down the journey. I'm still learning. Is it better to be right or to have a relationship? I'm still trying to differentiate those two R's. So, Rob, another way of saying what we're saying is we sometimes observe people, and we may be mentoring, they may be a family member or whatever. They made a mistake, and you and I might, through life experience, think, well, that was a pretty unsmart decision you made to get to where you are. But we don't want to throw it in their face. We don't want to denigrate them in any way. But rather, I think it's a matter of, okay, I'm just curious. What did you learn from that? And I think, Rob, that's what you're saying, that, hey, if I make at least 3 mistakes today, and I can effectively evaluate each of those wrong mistakes, I'm going to learn through that. I'm always advancing, but some of my greatest advancement is through mistakes. Just long as, here's my perspective, as long as I don't make the same mistake twice.
Well, yes and no, because right at the end, look at the pressure you just put back on yourself. As long as I don't make the same mistake twice. See, and those are the small little subconscious things that we do to ourselves that puts the extra pressure on. And the other thing I want to the reason I said yes and no is, so say I make 3 mistakes today, I don't want to overstart analyzing them and think I have to have a lesson now. How many times has it happened where something went wrong in your life, and years later you're all of a sudden, then you're like, that's why that happened. That's why I went through that. But if we sit there and think, I've got to know the answer now, we put, again, more undue pressure on ourselves of having to figure it out. And then we get caught up in the analysis, and the analysis leads to the paralysis, and we don't do anything. We get stuck. And then we beat ourselves up over being stuck. Why am I not figuring this out? And do you see the kind of cycle we put ourselves into that causes more of a weighing down on who we are, and then inability to move forward? And it's just subtlest little thing.
No, I understand. And the expression paralysis of analysis, yep, we can go through too much of that. And when I say the second mistake, in other words, what I'm saying, or the same mistake twice, what I am saying is, hey, you did, if your mindset is, well, let's try the same thing again and expect different results, that may not be the right approach to take. The fact that I made 2, 3, even 7 mistakes the same day, hey, as long as I learn from those mistakes, and It's evaluated experiences. That's really where I'm coming from. I want to evaluate each experience and move forward from there. But I think a matter of some of us, the patience of helping a person analyze, or different word, helping a person assess the reason for what they or we may determine is not the best decision, but we're going to move forward from that. And so, hey, just be patient with me. Some of us have to experience some things to learn.
Yeah, and I love that. Like, if you and I are having this conversation, and Marty being that strong, silent type, I can so tell. I'm watching her take notes as well, and this because this goes to one of the things that a disbelief I have, and I don't put this on people. It's just my belief, and I want them to understand that. I love the saying that says, "Behind every man, there's a great woman." I love the saying, but I disagree with it so strongly. I so strongly disagree with it. Because for me, it's not behind every man's a great woman, it's beside every great man, there's a great woman. And so the fact, one of the things that when you asked me to do a second episode, I'm like, I'm so in. Because the two of you side by side, that really empowers me. The fact that you're 50 plus years in marriage and together. Next month, my wife and I celebrate 33 years of marriage. And so I'm always inspired by people who've gone longer, because then it's like, what can I learn from them? How can I connect with them? And going back to the second, not make the same mistake twice, something I do individually and with my teams. Every time we do a project, there's 3 very powerful questions we go through. And the first question is, okay, what worked? And so now, we take the emotion, the judgment, we take the blame out of everything. And it's just simply, this worked, this worked, this worked, this worked, this worked. Great. Second question is, what did not work? And this is the one where it's important to make sure you take the blame and the judgment and the energy out of it. It's not like, well, because of you, this happened. No, it's just, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. And then that third question is, okay, what can we do different? And that's where now, as a creative, whether it's individually or as a team, comes together and says, well, based on what did not work and what worked, here's the adjustments we're going to make. Because the most crucial thing is now to take a step again. And how many people, if they make a mistake, they just shut down, I'll never do that again. But it's about making a little adjustments, like you said, and not doing the same thing twice, expecting different results. Make a little adjustment. Now let's take one more step and do it again. So I love, you and I are talking the same language.
And I think, Rob, is, with our team, it is a matter of equipping people to think. And I appreciate what you said about walking beside, and I absolutely agree with you. It's not behind. I never want to project myself in some sort of a hierarchy. I'm above you. Certainly, if I ever express or indicate I'm above Marty, I'll get immediate feedback. But
Robert, he'll get the look.
Oh, some of our listeners will know what the look is. Man, there's sometimes I'd rather take a board to the forehead or a boot to the lips rather than the look. The look is nonverbal, and I know I've just taken a thrashing with the look. But here's what I'm saying, that as we project the persona, as we develop the culture, we are here to go on a journey together, walk with and beside each other. We're growing together. Journey and together are 2 very operative terms for Marty and me. I sense that the same with you, Rob, and your team. But as we project that culture, I'll tell you, we are going to go a long ways.
Yes. And that's it. Culture is so important. And it's the culture in relationships, the culture in business, the culture with yourself. And another way of saying culture is context. And I love to model cultures in business that have the openness, not the I'm the boss, you're the underling. What I say goes. I love the cultures where we have openness, we have discussions. And I even look back as a good example of that. Domino's Pizza. I don't know if you've ever heard of Domino's Pizza.
Yeah, we have it here.
Well known anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, right.
And when you look back, as a former Domino's Pizza franchisee, I modeled a lot of the way that Tom Monahan, the founder, created things. One was, part of his culture was, people said, Tom, how are you so successful? How is it you grew from you and your brother using, buying a single store to now, at the time, 6,000 plus stores around the world. And he said, well, my first thing that I committed to myself is I was always going to hire people smarter than me. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm doing something wrong. That was the first part of it. And then the second part was, for those that have never heard the history, he bought a store, him and his brother, as a way of paying their way through university. And then they grew to another store. His brother decided he didn't want to be in pizza anymore. So for his 50% of the business, he gave him a Volkswagen Beetle. Now, to put that in perspective, how many years later did he sell 93% of the company for $1.1 billion? His brother was probably going, that's the most expensive Volkswagen Beetle ever that I ended up getting. Yep. And they got to 3 stores, and the stores were actually called Dominick. When all of a sudden, there's a very big brand of sugar in the US called Dominick Sugar. And they were basically going after them saying, you can't use that name. You have to change your name. And finally, after a lot of lengthy legal battles, Tom lost the battle, and they were forced to change the name of the company. So instead of him trying to figure it all out himself, what did he do? He brought his team together, and he said, here's the reality. We have to do a total name change from Dominick. What could we use as a name? Now, most people go, well, I'm the boss. I'm going to come up with a new name, and it's going to be brilliant. Tom said, I know I need help on that. And a driver, a pizza delivery driver, stood up and said, well, what about Domino's? It's close to Dominick, so we don't have to change too much. And as a logo, we can put a domino there with 3 dots, one representing each store that we have. And as we open new stores, we can add another dot to the logo. And all of a sudden, that's how Domino's was born in the form it is today. Now, thank goodness they didn't add a dot for every store, because that would be a big frickin' domino right now with thousands of dots on it, right? But in reality, he sat back and said, I don't have to have all the answers. I have an amazing team, and no person is less than me, even if they're just a driver, some people say. No, they're a team member. And because he had that culture, he was able to shift and rebrand the company and take it where it is today.
Very well said. One of the expressions Marty and I believe in, are 4 very powerful words. I believe in you. And when we as a leader can project that in our persona, I believe in you, it's not just 4 words, but when we say, oh, I'm going to equip you to good critical thinking, I'm going to believe in you, and I'm going to turn to you knowing that I don't have the best ideas. What do you think? I need your help because I know you, your strengths, and so forth. As we do that, everybody can feel as if they belong. Belonging is one huge term. We all want to belong, but does my leader, does my superior, although when I say my superior, I use that as a term of I'm responsible for your mental health, your professional development, but I am not this way in an elevator above you. I'm walking right there beside you.
Yeah, and here would be an interesting research to do with what the world's going through right now and the great exodus of people leaving their jobs and going to totally different things. And I guarantee you, this is just my perspective, but if someone was to do an extensive research of the companies that had the greatest number of people not come back or leave or change to the companies that seem to maintain and grow their teams, the ones that have the greatest exodus are the ones where it's, here's the boss, here's the next in line, here's the next in line, you're at the bottom. People don't want to feel that way. And the ones that have maintained have had the culture of, let's get through this together. Everybody got afraid 2 years ago when things started happening. And how many companies basically just said, we have no choice, you either have to work from home or we have to lay you off, and then quit communicating. Versus companies that said, we don't know what's going to go, how it's going to last, how long it's going to go for, but let's keep the communication open. We're here to support you in any way we can. Together we'll get through this. I guarantee if you do a research on it, you would see that the companies that really were there with that culture of we're not above you, we're going through it together, they maintained more of their teams than the ones that said, crap, you're just the underling, lay you off, we've got to survive. And it would be neat to see the results of a research like that.
What is your observation of those companies that have a very defined hierarchy? That is the president, the vice president, the executive vice president, and the various underlings that you are X layers deep, and there's an emphasis on those who are in charge, that hierarchy. Is it your observation these are the companies that no longer have the loyal employees, that they're looking for other jobs. I'm interested in your observations. I'm interested in your view of leadership and how the belonging, the vulnerability can work together. And you'll learn in just a moment the relationship of the autocratic and Socratic aspects of leadership. Let's discuss and learn together. I read very recently, it seemed to me it was last week, some research that said upwards of 77% of the people surveyed, however many it was, have said they feel on the job they are operating or performing below their potential. And so I thought that's an interesting statistic, albeit I'm not terribly surprised, because there are a lot of supervisors, there are a lot of leaders who will say, well, you were hired to do this. And if you start talking outside that quote, I use the term pigeonhole, the reason for which we hired you, some people are shut down because, well, I didn't hire you. We have somebody else to think that way. And so, okay, just stay in your little cubicle here and we'll come to you whenever we feel like we want to communicate with you.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to see a great example of great culture, and it's been years since I've been there, and I know they've gone through some changes, but Zappos, the company Zappos, I remember going to Vegas, joining some friends, and we went on a tour of their office. And because, Tony Hsieh, he was an amazing, amazing gentleman, passed away just over the last couple of years. This guy who started with this company, they asked him to come in and be the CEO, and he invested $1 million and said, we can revolutionize this. He changed the culture of the business, and then he ended up selling the business for well over $1 billion 3 years later. Not a bad return on investment. He took even $300 million of his own money and started revitalizing the whole downtown core of Las Vegas because he loved Vegas so much. And they would openly allow people to come in and tour their offices in Vegas to see their culture. And the first thing that struck me that was really awesome, because you're bringing up cubicles, how many corporations you go in and they've got those, they're those cubicle stands, they're like 8x8 boards and they're on legs, and that's how they create all their cubicles. Well, they had those in Zappos, but it was just the frames. There was no inside, there was no actual divider. It was just a frame because they believed in, and this was their way of saying, we have an open culture here. Everybody collaborates. You're not in this space and you only do this job. If you see someone over there that can, use your expertise, you help them, we help here. And I thought, what a powerful visual, taking the actual divider away, leaving the frame there to show we don't have division. It's pretty cool when you look at, and so as a business owner, if you want to really go to the next level, how can you create a culture that empowers that? Yeah, I didn't hire you, Marty, I didn't hire you for this job. I hired you for this. Ron, I hired you for this. No, it's like, what can we create together?
Rob, I want to ask you to address that person who is in a life transition, a leader. He's having to maybe either reform his company or do something different. I'm now speaking of post-COVID, that we are hopefully coming out of that period. We are having to reform the company. I am developing a new culture, and there's a lot of things that will necessarily change. Hopefully I've learned through this experience, but how would you help that leader start to reform his or her mindset? And it may be a matter of hiring different people. It may be a matter of, well, we no longer need this 33-room building we operated in. We have learned that we can operate virtually, but we just need to adjust a little bit to that and so forth. Can you help that leader to develop that right mindset to have maybe a transformed perspective and everything that may represent some new thinking?
Yeah, I actually have a little, I have plaques and sayings all over our house. And there's this one, it's just on a little piece of wood that sits on one of the windowsills. And it says, when things just don't seem to go right, go left. And I love that because it's a great reminder that maybe there is a different way of thinking. So a couple words I would bring to that person that you're describing. 1, humbleness. 2, be willing to be vulnerable. Because as that leader trying to refigure things out, be humble enough to say, you know what? I don't know what I don't know. And have the willingness to be vulnerable enough to say, I am willing to be open for some help. Now, as a leader, you got to go through the two types of leadership style all the time, and you got to be willing to switch back and forth. The Socratic and the autocratic. The autocratic is the one that, this is what's going to be done in this moment. You make the decision. Sometimes as a leader, you've got to step up because the troops need that. So it's not wishy-washy. It's not where are we going to go. It's, okay, based on what we have, here's where we're going. But then you can snap back into the Socratic and say, okay, everybody's input. Let's do a mastermind. Let's do a strategy session. Let's get some great ideas. And from the great ideas, then you can sit there and go back in and say, great, based on what we have, boom, 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 these are our next steps. And so when you're humble enough and you're willing to be vulnerable enough to have those kind of interactions with your teams, you'll be amazed at what you can create. And is it going to always be easy? Absolutely not. But the journey is worth it. And that's what I would recommend.
That is very well said. Very clearly, even amongst this discussion, I would say, Marty, you have strengths I don't. And I can tell you through 54 years of marriage, we're very different, but in very complementary ways. Rob, you have experiences, you have talents, gifts. I don't. It's a matter of forming the team and having in my presence those who, when we are collective, we are at our best. But I certainly am not the holder of the best ideas. I just want to harness everybody's powers. I want to equip those within my influence. And when you feel you can belong, I think, Rob, just with you, and Marty, you projected as well, thank you for the opportunity to walk along beside you. It's very important to me.
Well said. Love it.
Rob, on behalf of our listeners, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to share insights with you. You've got a great approach to leadership, working with people, and it's exactly what we need to hear. And again, as we started this podcast, some of us just take more time than others, so please be patient with us.
And anytime you want to have an episode 3 or 4, just to continue conversations. I love the style of the two of you and what you're doing to empower people. So it'd be my honor to be of assistance in any way I can.
Thank you, Rob. On behalf of our listeners, thank you, and we'll be back. Let's continue the dialogue. You just have to love being around people like Rob. He has a great, upbeat disposition. You're just happy being around people like this that are just smiling all the time. Like you said, yeah, I just want to be boring. I just want to open the show and just bore you to death and just make you wish you weren't here and so forth. That's just a lively attitude. That's just a very upbeat nature and demeanor. I think we're in charge of that. We have 100% control whether today is a good day, and whether we choose to be happy around you. We want to make you happy just by virtue of being around us. Those are things we can choose to do. One of the things that is very prevalent with Rob is the aspect of, if not now, that's all right. You show me you have the ability to learn. You show me you have the desire to become more than what you are. The timing may be that not now, not yet. Hey, we will be with you. We'll be ready for you when the timing is right. The timing is better. And if you're not ready right now, if the answer is you never will be, that's all right as well. We accept whatever it is you choose to do. After all, it's your choice. We have a message through our life experience we want to pass on to others. It's not something that everyone will accept. We acknowledge that, but we do want to offer. We want to be available. We want to try to inspire you to become, to do whatever it is you want to become, you want to do. We want to help you to achieve every aspect of the fulfilled life you want. Marty and I have enough life experience together. We have done what we need to do to have that aspect in that point in our life where we are doing exactly everything we choose to do. Nothing haughty about that. It's just a matter of we've lived the discipline to do what we need to do to be where we are. Unfortunately, for some people who are there, they think, well, gosh, man, you've got it made and so forth. Nothing of that is what we're trying to project. Rob is not. But rather, we just want you to know you can, and you will have to endure a lot to get to where you want to be. Many of us have experienced various shortcomings, and it's through those shortcomings we have grown, we've gotten better, we have learned from, we've evaluated what we did, and we say to one degree, well, we won't make that mistake. That's the very same mistake again. But yes, my life is full of mistakes, but I've learned from them. Marty has, Rob has. But let's learn together. Coaching. Everyone can benefit from coaching. There's some of us who have had things said to and about us in the past that keep us from being the person we were designed to be, the person who can best function as we are. But there's sometimes the shadow beliefs, the limiting beliefs, things that have been said to and about us in the past that are existing in the subconscious can become the dominating factors. When activated, they can control our life. We don't possibly know it at the time, but sometimes others can observe the fact your limiting beliefs are controlling your conscious current behavior. Marty and I are certified coaches through the John Maxwell Certified Leadership Team. Let's get together. Let's schedule a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. Through that, we can help you determine if we are the right people to help you overcome anything that is keeping you from performing at your very best. Contact us at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. Let's get together and let's work with each other. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating with this podcast series. We hope you will want to subscribe. We hope also you'll share with us in the comment section those things that have worked well for you, those things that have not worked as well. The more we share, the greater the opportunity we will have to benefit others. We hope you'll want to share this podcast with your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, your Instagram and Twitter communities. The more we share, the greater the opportunity we can learn from each other, the greater the opportunity will be that we can pass on life experiences to everyone with our circle of influence. As we do that, everyone benefits because our heart desire is we want to advance everybody to their maximum potential. We look forward to working with you.